Hey y'all, welcome back to Susie on the Farm. I'm Susie if you're new here, and on my channel I love to go thrift store shopping. I take you guys with me sometimes and I make over the items that I sell here in my store in Coleman, Alabama. So today I have some more thrift flips for y'all. Here's the items that I have picked out to make over this week. These bar stools, I just have one here, but I actually have 3 of these. They've been out on the porch. These were at my bar for a long time. I'm going to do them a little paint makeover. And I have, somebody gave me these tinted bottles and they just been sitting on a shelf and they're pretty spring colors. So I thought that I would give them a little makeover today. This is a rolling pin. I've got several unfinished rolling pins. I sold a bunch of my made over ones and this one's a newer one. So I'm going to go ahead and make one over in this video. So I'll have some of those. I also have some of these, what are these? Legs to a couch. And hopefully I can get that screw out because I like to make risers out of these. I'll show y'all here in a little bit. This is a redo. I did this a long time ago. Pulled the price tag off that and it's, it messed it up. So I never really liked it and it's never sold. So we're going to redo that. I've got these 2 little hanging shelf things that are not bad, but I think I can fix them up. And this is just a little easel. I may not even do anything with it, but I'm going to paint it because I'm doing a spring vignette whatnot show this week, and I might need that. And do y'all remember these planters that Dollar General had? I forgot I had one. So we're going to make it over. Y'all probably seen that one done for a while, but we're going to do it. So I have 2 of these. All right. So I'm going to do things the same way I did them. I've been doing them and just do these in the order that I do all of this work so you guys know how to efficiently flip your thrift flips. So let's go ahead and get to it. So I'm going to start with these bar stools. My plan for them is very simple, but they're my largest item. I need to get them painted so they can get dry. I'm going to paint them. It's going to be very basic here. I'm going to paint these in a white. I haven't picked out the color yet. Then I'm going to distress them and I'm going to do a grain sack stripe on the top. I did decide to paint these with a DIY white swan. This is just a really pretty white and I wanted to use the DIY paint because I definitely want to distress these. I love the wood color underneath, so I just quickly got a coat on those 3 bar stools. Well, not quickly, but I got it on there. And now I'm going to move on to these, and sometimes you can't tell if that's paper on there or what, but I just sanded it to where it was very smooth. And now I'm using Fusion in the color Manor Green. I did a dresser in this color and fell in love with it. And green is such a versatile color. I mean, this could be a Christmas green or spring or summer or whatever. It's just a beautiful dark green and I love this color. So this was needed 2 coats. These smaller projects are very easy to just heat dry and keep going. So while I was at it, I thought I would do some batch painting here. And since I love this green so much, I went ahead and did the center of this rolling pin with this Manor Green as well. And I also had a couple of these little mini rolling pins and I just decided to go ahead and fix them up for some of my spring vignettes. Most of the projects that I use a transfer on today, well, all of them I think, are getting the Rose Botanical. It's a beautiful transfer book, and as you can see, I've already used a lot of it, but it's just got all different sizes of rose transfers. So for these 2 little hanging things, I'm not sure, plaques, hanging plaques, I'm just going to put a couple on each one, and I just picked out some different roses but of the same color, and I'm just going to kind of center them in the middle. These are the smallest of the rose transfers and there's so many in this pack. So if you've never used an IOD transfer before, they're very easy to use, especially on this Fusion paint that has a built-in sealer. They just go on like a dream. So I just transferred a couple of these on each one, and then I am going to seal them up with some clear wax. Fusion paint does not need to be sealed as it has a built-in sealer in it, but the transfers do. After you put them on, you'll also need to like burnish them in with your fingers or whatever. Just make sure all the edges are down. And I also there's lots of script in with this. So I put some wording on the bottom of these, and then once these are sealed up, they are done. I do have a hard time keeping this transfer book in stock, but I checked right before I started this voiceover, and I think I have 3 right now if you're needing one. For the mini rolling pins, I'm actually going to take one of the smallest here and split it in 2. These are pretty small, so I'm just going to fussy cut around these flowers, and then I'll add some more greenery to layer over it to make it look complete. Your transfers can be cut apart, used however you want, and you can also layer them. You're going to see a lot of that coming up in this video. So again, I'm just going to put this on here with the tool that comes with the transfers, and I'm just going to rub and roll as I go, and they come off like a dream on this Fusion paint, as you can see. Very easy, and these will need to be sealed again, and I'm just going to use clear wax for all of that. And for the large rolling pin, I used one of the medium roses on it, and it turned out beautiful and was super easy too. So once all these are sealed up, they are done. I decided to leave the ends or the handles natural on all of these rolling pins, and they just look so gorgeous. This manor green with the rose botanical transfer book is so beautiful. Get right back to those flips, but as I was adding those photos in, it reminded me to tell y'all about my Whatnot show that's tomorrow night at 6 p.m. Central. I have curated a bunch of spring vignettes for y'all, and after I finish doing this voiceover, I am gonna go add some more in. Be sure you use the link below in the description if you're new to Whatnot, so you can get that $15 credit, and y'all come hang out with me tomorrow night because we're gonna have so much fun. See y'all then. All right, moving on to this frame and this picture. This was my problem child for this entire video. I had so much trouble with this one, but I persevered. I kept going, and eventually we got it. But there's lots of mistakes, lots of errors that happen here, and I'm going to let y'all see my mistakes and hopefully learn from them, because they're usually preventable. Most of the time, it's just from getting in a hurry. So I'm going to begin by giving this entire thing 2 coats of DIY White Swan, basically sticking to the same 2 colors in this video. I'm just painting right over these transfers that have been on here a long time. They don't come off after that long. And while that's drying, I went ahead and did a second coat on my bar stools. And as you can see, they are definitely going to need a 3rd coat. And hand painting that definitely takes a while. But I just prefer that over spraying. And I don't have an air compressor here. So now my 2 coats are dry on this. And my next step is I want to distress it. I am going to use one of the Rose Botanical transfers. The large rose is a perfect fit. To distress this, since I use DIY paint, I definitely want to bring back some of that natural wood from underneath. So I'm going to do a combination of sandpaper and wet distressing, and I'm going to heavily distress this frame. First, I'm going to cut all this wording off from around this rose. I want to save that to use it where and how I want. So I'm just going to trim it all off my backing and save all that, because we are going to be using some of it. And then here's where my first mistakes happened, okay? So as I was distressing, I turned the frame around, and now the little hanging thing is at the bottom, and I put the transfer on before I realized that. My second mistake, and I've done this before and it's worked out fine, is I did not seal the DIY clay-based paint underneath this transfer. It's been drying a little while, but maybe not long enough. And like I said, I've done it before where I put the transfers directly on, but today it just did not work. It started out fine, and then as I was rubbing and lifting, the paint was coming up on the transfer. And I've had that happen before. Most of the time, I do prefer to use the transfers over the Fusion paint that has a built-in sealer, because it's just so darn easy. But I have done this before and it's worked out fine, but today it did not. So I'm just going to rub and lift the best I can, and then eventually I do give up. And what I should have done to begin with is sealed this paint in, let it dry overnight, and then put a transfer on it. But I'm always in a hurry. As you can see, it's lifting the paint right up. I turned it around, went at it from a different direction, and I still wasn't able to get this transferred like I wanted. So I stopped. Luckily, the bottom part had not stuck, so I was able to pull the transfer up and go ahead and seal this in with Big Top. So I did that. Now, I guess my paintbrush must have had a little bit of paint residue left in it, and so there was a little bit of a tint when I was putting on my Big Top. However, I feel like that was kind of a happy accident in this case. Did give the thing a little bit more of a vintage feel, so I was fine with that. So I put this on. I'm going to let it dry a couple hours, and then I'm going to come back. I have plenty of things to do here in the store at all time. I think I went and packed some orders or placed some orders or something. So it's been a couple hours now, and what I'm doing here is just trying to line my transfer back up where everything is right. So this has been sitting and is dry, so this should go on, but maybe the fact that I laid it on there before didn't help, and so I still had trouble getting this transfer off. I don't know. It couldn't be the transfer pack, because I've used many from that transfer pack. So it's definitely something about this day, and nothing about this art is a perfect science. The weather makes a difference. It is unusually hot here, so maybe that had something to do with it after all the cold weather we've had. But as you can see, things still didn't transfer. So I'm going to come back to that later. I'm going to put it away. I'm going to go home after I finish a couple more projects, and I'm going to come back to it later. So these are those tinted bottles that my bestie Stacy gave me a while back. They've been sitting on a shelf, so I want to put them to use today, and we're going to do something fun here. I know I want to use little Flopsy here on that pink one, but we're going to go through all of my decoupage scraps, and we're going to see just some little designs that we can put on these bottles. I'm not going to sell these together. They're all going to be individual, so they can all be different, but I'm going to do the same technique on all of them. It's probably just me and my obsession with paper and paper crafting lately, but don't y'all just love the sound of paper wrinkling? Tell me it's not just me. So I'm definitely looking for smaller spring-like designs, not necessarily large. I'm not going to cover these entire bottles, so I'm just looking for smaller elements that I can fussy cut or use the wet tear method to cut out. And then this is the spring elements, I think, or yes, spring elements. I do have a few of these available, but it's got lots of little things. Look at that little chick. Can't remember if I end up using him, but I definitely wanted to. So I'm just going through all of my decoupage paint scraps here. I use parts of them on projects, but I never throw anything away. I always use my little scraps eventually, whether it's just collaging in junk journals or putting them on a project. See, I always just keep all the little cutoffs. Sometimes I even cut these up and put one or two in a little ephemera pack that I do giveaways on my Whatnot show. I definitely want to use this label and probably these birds with it. So this is a good one. I'm going to definitely keep that one aside. So y'all let me know if you enjoyed looking through those decoupage scraps. I'm not going to get in that other bag. I think mostly that has napkins and tissue paper. So a lot of those are the same. All right, so now I am going to fussy cut some of these, and I'm going to use a small artist painter brush with some water on it to do the wet tear method, which is preferred. But some of them I'm going to fussy cut, and then I'm going to decoupage these directly onto my bottles. Now, usually when I am doing that and I don't want to paint the object, I will paint the back of the decoupage paper, but I'm not going to do that today because those tinted bottles are very light colors, and I actually want my paper to really kind of blend in with them. So I'm not going to paint the back of these decoupage papers here. I would do that if I was really wanting them to pop off, but like I said, in this case, I want them to blend in more. So I'm just doing as close as I can to these birds here with the wet tear. And if you tear while it's wet on this decoupage paper, it's very easy. And I just place my finger over the parts that I definitely want to keep so I don't accidentally tear some of that, and it comes right off. So I'm going to do this on the green bottle, and I'm just going to layer these two together. I'm going to put DIY liquid patina directly onto my bottle, and I'm just going to put it in the center of this one first because it has quite a curve. And I also like to mist my paper because that helps it lay down flatter. I'm going to do the center part first, and then I'm going to push out all the edges. Now, all that liquid patina that I'm getting on the bottle, before it dries, as soon as I finish, I'm going to take a baby wipe and I'm going to get all that excess off so we don't have any cloudiness on our bowl. And the only place that the liquid patina is directly onto the paper. I did go over this like 2 or 3 times with the wipe after it would dry, just to make sure, or before it dried, just to make sure that there was absolutely no liquid patina left on these. For this little bunny rice paper, I'm just going to fussy cut directly around the bunny and put him onto that pink bottle. I did later off camera decided I didn't like how he looked like he was just floating in the air, so I fussy cut or tore out some florals and put underneath him. And mostly when I'm fussy cutting here, I think I'll show you a little later on, I really just move the paper and I kind of just keep the scissors in one spot and cut as I move the paper. And to me, that's just the easiest way to fussy cut. See right here with these flowers, I will just zigzag the scissors back and forth, moving the paper. And I also save even those little scraps. I have a box underneath my table that I throw scraps in all the time that I can use. Same thing, I'm just going to put it directly on the bottle. Didn't even have to spray this one. He went on nice and easy, wiped off all the liquid patina. I found another little bunny that I'm going to tear out and put some floral underneath him. Then I'm just going to let y'all watch the rest of this process. I'll do some fussy cutting and just get all these bottles completed. Wipe off all the excess liquid patina, and I think these turned out really cute. I'm going to sell them all individually. They might even be in my Whatnot show. I can't remember at this point if they're in the store or the show, but y'all come join me. Maybe they will be in the show because they all turned out absolutely precious. save this. It's been drying now for 2 days. I gave up on it on the weekend. So we're gonna have to put some greenery or something in here to cover all that up. And then I'm gonna put like a butterfly or something there, or maybe 2. So I'm trying to find some greenery that matches without really messing up all my transfers. I think this will work. Let's see. So as you can see, my transfers are coming off easily now. I let that sealer dry overnight, and this also is a different transfer. So I'm just going to line everything up, add some extra greenery. I even went ahead and put some more floral on there just to make it really full and filling in all those spots that didn't transfer. And then I'm going to take a couple of butterflies from the Entomology transfer pack to fill in that top part. And I'm also going to use some of the wording on the top and the bottom. Now, the only problem I have left, this finally turned out looking really good. The only problem I have left is the hanger is still on the bottom. When it's hanging up on the wall, you can't see it. So I'm just going to put a sawtooth hanger on the top so this can be hung correctly, and call this one done. I may keep this for myself for a little while. I don't like to sell things that I feel like I messed up on. And while this one ended up turning out really pretty, it's just in my head that something's wrong with it. What do you guys think about this frame? It's tall, it's big, and I love it. I have it in my bathroom, and it looks so beautiful. But I did not. But these are those 2 couch legs, and they are drying on these 2 wooden bowls. I'm going to let them dry, and then I'm going to decide if I'm going to paint them or leave them as they are. But I forgot to film that, so or I thought I hit record and I didn't. So now I'm going to get started on these, and these came from Dollar General, and I did pay $10 for them, but I saw so many people redo one of these planters last year. So I was kind of having FOMO, and I decided that I wanted to do one too. Now, most people are doing like white and then antiquing, and y'all know I do that all the time. So I thought I would do something a little bit different, and I am going to do copper on these. But first, and I learned this from Jamie Ray Vintage, that red or orange are a great base coat for copper. So I'm going to go ahead and paint them. This is probably Fire Starter. This came in one of Sonnet's Makers boxes. And I just haven't had a chance to use all of it.
One were to tune into this video at this exact moment, and they would be like, why in the world is she painting those sheep orange? And I kind of felt that way myself. But once the orange dried and I went to put the first coat of the copper on here, because this was the first time I'm trying this technique, I was like, wow, I'm only going to have to do one coat of this metallic paint, and usually it's 3 coats. So that is a great hack, using red or orange or something underneath your any metallic, copper, gold, anything, you know, in that color wheel. Bronze. So yeah, that worked really great. I'm happy to know that. So I got these all painted up, and once they are dry, to finish them off, I'm going to use some of the Fusion Aging Wax. This is my favorite, and it looks so good over copper, just like it looks so good over any color. I'm going to just rub this on with my wax brush, and then I'm going to take a paper towel and wipe it back, and you'll see the subtle difference because there's a lot of texture and details in those sheep where that wax just stays in there, and it just is so rich looking. I mean, it just perfectly shades that copper, makes it look so real. And here is the difference between the unwaxed sheep and the waxed, looking so good. Love how these turned out. I just stuck some of the cream tipped, these are actually candle rings that I stuck in here, but I also have the half spheres that work great in here, and they look so beautiful. Y'all be sure and let me know in the comments what you think about these makeovers. I love hearing feedback from you guys. I don't always have time to go respond, but I do read all the comments. And I also did that little easel in the same technique, so he's a little bit more usable now. And how simple did this project turn out? Once I got the glue dried on these, I decided I didn't want to paint them. I love the look of them, just how they are. Those legs are perfectly aged. The wood's a perfect tone on those bowls, and I stuck a couple of the cream tipped half spheres in there that are available on my website, SusieOnTheFarm.com, and these are just a perfect addition to anyone's home decor. After my 3 coats of paint had dried on these bar stools, I did take them outside and I used my orbital sander to heavily distress all of the edges on these. I do like that dark wood stain coming back through white, so I wanted to heavily distress them and just really smooth out the paint really good. Brought them back inside, and now I'm going to make things easy on myself, and I'm going to use a stamp to do my grain sack stripe. If you don't have a stamp, you can easily tape it off and paint it, but I'm just going to use some black ink. That way it looks super distressed like the bar stools they are, and I'm just going to go straight up the center. My stamp doesn't actually do the entire seat, so I will have to double that up, but it's really easy to line up your IOD stamps. And even though in these you can see where I lined them up, I feel like it goes perfect with the look of these bar stools anyway, and I think they turned out beautiful, and I know they're going to sell now here in the store. I'm actually really glad to have these done. I think I almost bit off a little bit more than I could chew this week with having to hand do the 3 coats of paint on these. So I almost didn't get finished. So I was very happy to have accomplished what I set out to do in the beginning of this video. So I hope that y'all have enjoyed all of today's thrift store makeovers. Don't forget, you can get all the paint and products on my website, SusieOnTheFarm.com. And don't forget to join me tomorrow night over on Whatnot, so we can have all kinds of fun. Leave a comment below. Make sure you're subscribed and have that notification bell turned on. I upload videos every Wednesday night with an occasional surprise one here and there. Thank you all so much for joining me, and I'll see you again next week.